All right, man. So we're back again. This is the
I'm
fourth episode
happy to be back. I'm happy to be back.
We got no more friends, so this is the only guy we invite.
of no other friends. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. So that was episode 4 of the podcast. House back again. I mean, pretty much he's like third honorary host, pretty much.
Thank you.
um,
Please stop the applause.
Come on, dude. Okay, so this time we're gonna be talking about. I didn't really plan out as well as the other ones before, but we're just gonna talk about like personal preference. So it's more of like personal opinion type thing as opposed to like facts, and we're gonna talk about more like where our interests align, sort of like maybe subjects. I don't know, whatever you find interesting, your reasoning, or maybe some jobs you find interesting. Whatever. It's up to you. So, who wants to start? Should I start or you start, Edwin? Okay, fine. I'll start. All right, cool. So, I used to like computer science, right? You guys know as well that I used to
I
do
didn't know
computer
that too.
science. Oh, come on, dick. All right. Well, I used to be very interested in computer science because of like games. I wanted to figure out how games were made, and so I looked it up. Google, shout out Google. No, I'm joking. Yeah, so I figured out that you apparently code games, like, or any digital programs in general, and I started learning how to code. At first, I was just really like following instructions. Like, I didn't really get anything, but then as soon as we start going to classes and stuff, I started like understanding the concept of like building blocks, and then like solving problems by using those building blocks. But I guess over time, like, even though I would say that I was pretty good myself at solving those kind of problems, I found it pretty fun just solving problems in general, using code to solve problems. That was pretty fun. The feeling you get once you complete the code is like pretty good. But the problem is like, recently I've been feeling like imposter syndrome from computer science because of the computer science IA, where they just let you do like whatever, right? And I'm not really, when it comes to computer science, I'm not used to that. So usually I like to follow like directives. So like, oh, I want you to build this exactly. I work better when there's a clear goal in mind, something like that. But when it comes to computer science IA, I was building a website, and you have to learn this function, that function, and it was just all too complicated, and I struggled, and I was like, nah, man, maybe I'm not cut out for this. So my interest kind of moved towards physics, and that's where I'm today.
I mean, I think like, yeah, it's very nice. Yes, thank you for sharing with us, Kevin.
Yes.
I mean, I can see where you're going with your change in heart of computer science, and yeah, I also am quite fond with computer science. I used to do a lot of coding myself, and I still am right now. But I didn't take it for the IB for some other reasons. But I mean, like what you were saying, I think computer science is more of a broader thing, right? You don't have to necessarily. I mean, there's stuff in computer science that are really intriguing and interesting to do. Not necessarily just. I mean, I can see just from your experience with the IA, you've kind of moved away from that. But to me, there are a lot more things in computer science which is really interesting. To be honest, I hate even thinking about having a job in the future with computer science kind of just irks me because I don't.
Yeah.
My dad, he does that for a living, right? And he kind of sometimes he pushes it towards me, and I can tell why he does that. It's a good career for the future, but I don't feel like I want to set out my entire life doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like it's really like a fun thing to do, sort of solving problems and everything, and it's kind of interesting to sort of understand how a computer works in general. But I think when I start thinking of it as a job, and doing it like from 9 to 5, grueling, like coding this, that, looking up on Stack Overflow, I feel like that's a job. Like, you don't know something, just Stack Overflow. Like, it's a pain in the bum, like, to be honest. Like, ironing out bugs all the time, not knowing what to do, not having enough resources to do what you're set out to do. You know, like I mentioned previously, like the building blocks, right? I really struggle when the building blocks aren't there, or I don't really understand the building blocks. Like that's a really big problem as well. So that's the reason I sort of like strayed away from that kind of job and that kind of career. But it's still a fun hobby to think or talk about in general, and that computer science background has helped me over time, you know, like solving technical problems or just like understanding the link between physics and computer science or different kinds of things like that.
Quite fair.
Yeah, so anybody else like to share?
Halcyon would love to share.
Yes. Does Michael want to share?
Michael? Who's Michael?
I don't know either. All right. You see, I understand both of your points in computer science. I used to be a really big computer science geek. Well, I was more of an ICT.
Fam, you
I used to-
subject. You left the subject.
let me talk, okay? Let me talk.
We're gonna blame you right now for leaving the subject, dude.
Bro, hey, you're leaving the subject too, okay? So,
Yeah, but I didn't leave in the middle.
hey, I got confused between ICT and computer science.
ICT is just computer science for
I saw
noobs.
computer science and I was like, yo, bro. A lot of ICT GCSE boys right now are gonna be mad at you, okay? Let me tell you. I was in making a new Word document, you know, writing a PowerPoint. I was
Okay.
a pro in starting up a computer, and then like literally clicking the power button. That's what I was good at in ICT.
Okay, dude, I didn't mean it. I didn't.
It ends there.
I didn't mean a meme. I just meant like just talk about your interests like generally. You
Yes, I mean,
know? I like to turn on computers, and that's about it.
I think if we were talking about jobs, I probably am good at social sciences. I think I'm a lot better at social sciences than STEM, the STEM field. I think, I can think logically, just not very often, you know?
Right.
Like,
not after 10
I can
p.m.
think-
That kind of stuff.
Needle in a haystack.
No, it's more like not after 7 a.m., you know? After that, it's like it resets around 6:55.
Is it a negative exponential curve after that?
Bro, see, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, like you know,
Yeah.
you know when a disease spreads and it goes like up like that.
Yes.
I meant the negative, so like after 6:55, it just goes down like that.
I like how you said disease
Kevin, I'm trying to show you.
in a pandemic.
I'm trying to. Guys, I'm trying to show the people that I'm stupid. Okay, lose to you
You don't
guys.
have to try.
Nah, you're not dumb, dude. You're not dumb. I see the big brain in there. Come on, dude.
Fine.
Listen, you're here because you're big brain. You're part of the big brain boys. Okay.
Okay.
You're not.
Okay. Let me explain my big brain. Okay.
Yeah, come
Let
on.
me explain my big brain. So I think my biggest talent is opening up a Word document. No, I'm kidding.
Alright,
I think I'm probably
your position of temporary host.
Hey, shut up. I think I'm probably best at the social sciences. I think I'm pretty good at history, geography, just like a lot of the noob subjects. I think I excel in the noob subjects. The subjects that require like 140 IQ and over, I leave that for the 140 IQ people. But
I mean, like,
I think I'm probably best when it comes to social sciences and just like managing people. I think I'm more of a emotional intelligence person instead of a actual intelligence person. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
I think
I know.
I think I'm suited in jobs that require people. But I think I have a lot more
deal
fun
with people.
in that.
I mean, that
that's
way,
true.
what you'll be
I
doing
think-
is all.
I like economics because I grew up with economics in my life. I think my dad always had Bloomberg on the television. He's an accountant, right? For his whole life, accountant. So I just pursued that. But at the same time, I think I've always been into theology, always into like the nature of human nature. Not in-depth psychology into the point of the brain, but really just reality as in surface level, and how do you manage people, and how do you manage yourself, and it's sort of like that, human relations, I guess. But
Well, what interests you about that?
what
Or
interests
why
me,
does
I
it
don't know,
interest
it's just people. I'd rather hang out
Why does it
and
interest
talk,
you?
because I'd rather hang out and talk with people than I would rather sit in front of a television. And I think I'm just naturally predisposed to my talents, and I just have this talent to communicate with people face to face.
No, like
So
I don't actually know whether you're an introvert or extrovert. It's actually very
I
difficult
think he's
for me to figure it out.
It's pretty hard for Halcyon now that because of this pandemic. I can tell. But
I think-
he's still
No.
finding ways to
I think-
engage with people.
I think I'm a heterosexual.
Oh my god. Wait.
We all
Yo.
know that's not true.
I think that's
What do you mean?
that's come on, dude.
Okay.
All right. So, reason being is because you sometimes exhibit the same behaviors or traits as I do, as in like we like to have our alone time and stuff like that. But also, you generally like dealing with people, and I don't know which one you prefer, sort of like. And if you recharge, whether you recharge like alone or you recharge like around people.
I definitely recharge alone. I think.
Okay, so you're an introvert then.
Yeah.
So
but I
it gets
mean,
it gets tiring then, no? Like talking to people sometimes.
No, well, if you're talking to a person the whole day, it gets tiring. But I think
No,
for
I
me,
mean,
it's-
like-
it's more like I like spending time with people. I'm just more if you're talking about relaxation, I like spending time alone. I'm more of an extrovert when it comes to I love social gatherings. I love spending time with people. But at the same time, I can enjoy both.
What are you telling me?
And I guess that's
Yeah, maybe you're an ambivert, because the thing is like I think the concept people often mix up is that the concept of introverts and extroverts is just generally like, how do you recharge, what makes you tired, and what how do you like relax. So for me it's like, well, I just chill alone, right? And then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to meet people. Or like if I spend a
Yeah.
full day like talking to people, then I'll just like to sit in my room and like chill, like.
yeah. I think for me it's definitely I think too much for me specifically. Leaning too much towards time alone is okay, but after a while it gets really boring for me. But at the same time, leaning too much to time with others, I think it sort of robs me of the opportunity. There's a lot of like great things when you spend time with people, right? But there's a lot of great
Yeah.
things when you're spending time alone. And I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
you know the saying like too much of something makes it bad, right? If you have too
Yeah.
much alcohol, it's bad.
Of anything.
If you smoke way too much, it's bad. If you have too many friends, it's gonna be bad. But if you have too much time alone, it's gonna be bad. So I think I'm more in the middle, just a healthy balance. If
See your big brain. You can dish out some of that big brain. Come on, bro.
bro,
You gotta flex some more, dude.
stop flirting with me, Kevin.
Adrian, how about you? Your turn. About your interests, or whatever.
Well, I would definitely say my interests do lie in physics. I mean, it's just a fascinating subject, It's not something that's so heavily relied on like book by book basis, if you know what I mean. It's not like you follow. I mean, I guess it's a set of rules, but the thing about physics is like there's a certain aspect for everybody, I mean, there are different topics and different areas in physics where a person can like, and I could be like, I don't like that, but I like this in physics, you know. It's just a place that you can just go down. It's fascinating. It's interesting. It's like the study of everything, right? It's a study of the world. It's just an amazing subject.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's what school probably robs us of. I think there's an amazing like opportunity for all of us to have that joy and that wonder when we get knowledge, when we're educated. Because when you think of it, let's say something as dull in school as calculus. If you really make use of that becomes genuinely fun because you get to. It's like in physics how what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was like, calculus is pretty much the whole language of physics because then you get to understand a lot of things, and calculus is like how you begin to understand other parts of the world. So I think it's education has, especially standardized education and testing, has done a good job of reallocating us into all these things. But I think it definitely strips us of having like this wonder. It's like how you said how computer sciences should genuinely be fun, right? Because when you can finish this job and then you can create games and everything, it's like a whole new world of wonder, right? But then when it comes to like create an IA and a report and all this, and it becomes boring because you were never intended to do a report. All your mind was about was like, I want to create, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's the same with physics. Physics is amazing. All the sciences are amazing. I think chemistry. I think chemistry probably the least amazing. It's probably most boring for me. sorry, but I think physics is just interesting because it's really the law of everything, and I think biology is interesting because it's the law of life. What more interesting is it into understanding all these bodies and create? I don't mean like physical bodies. I mean like actual bodies that contain gravity, all these masses, right? How do they work? How does this work? And then how does biology work? You don't always have to know that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
And apparently it isn't as well, which is even shocking.
No, I feel like
that's shocking. I didn't know.
I feel like you definitely.
Yeah, what are you gonna say?
I feel like you definitely do have the big brain, but you're not suited for the school system. I can see it, like, because I find that you're generally interested in things, like especially when I share with you, you're like, whoa, that's cool, and I feel like that's one of the most underrated important things. It's like just curiosity, imagination, and wonder. Those kind of things that generally pushes people to discover more than just like, oh, you're smart, because.
That is what's lacking.
Yeah, something like that. I think me and Adrian talked about this in the first episode as well. Like generally, like school just doesn't teach you to like actually want to learn. The testing system and everything. It's like you care more about the test than actually learning, and it becomes a gruel instead of like. Fun to learn and everything. So about what you said, like chemistry is the worst science. Chemistry is just like a smaller deviation of physics, right? All chemistry can be explained by physics.
The smaller, worse version of.
Oh my God, you can't do that. Okay.
I think this is one thing that we all sort of go into school, or. I know this. Before IB, we all had dreams of doing these things, right?
Yeah.
Adrian, I don't know what I think you wanted to be a diplomat first, bro.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
The eventual line,
Yeah, you wanted to do that, right?
Yeah.
And Kevin, I felt maybe you wanted to be a computer scientist. Maybe you wanted to be a physicist or something, right? I wanted to be, God knows, I don't know. But I think we all had dreams in the beginning of IB. And then after IB, I guess what people say is like, oh, that's the real world that hits you. But the thing is like, yeah, I guess it involves the real world. But what it does is it completely sucks your desire to learn, right?
That's true.
That's why so few people read nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you gonna say?
It's just like they see it as like they see it
Burden.
as a task as opposed to something they want to do, you know?
Yeah, like learning is like knowledge is simply a means to an end. It's like people who are like, oh, knowledge is power. But at the end of the day, knowledge is fun, bro. Knowledge is fun. It's fun to know how I don't know, fun facts about how the brain works. It's fun to know how stars are made. It's fun to know all these things, right? And at the end of the day, it becomes mad boring. Because when you think of it, I think when I was a kid, I idolized the Renaissance because I was like, oh, that's so interesting, that's so cool, right? But now we're in an age of, yes, mass information, but it's saturated information. It's just like, hey, here, know this. You know this so that you can do this. Instead of like the Renaissance where, yo, that stuff was crazy and it was fun. It was like,
It's not like-
people were making inventions to fly and everything. Now it's like
I
a
feel
new
like
invention.
it's like
That's because
there's no joy in like there's no joy, like the joy is missing, like the most important part
Yeah.
about discovering new things or learning, that's
Yeah.
missing. I think we're in that age where we sort of have this problem of not we don't have the problem of advancing, you know, slow, but we have the problem of not advancing meaningfully.
Yeah.
You get what I'm
Let's
saying?
think of it. Yeah.
So the reason why I like physics now is I feel like it's something where generally people are interested in the things they're good at, right? But I kind of understand a lot of the things that they explain in physics, right? But I still know that there are so much things that I don't know. And generally every day when I read up on something or discover something new, I just have fun, like, oh, that's cool. Like discovering how this works or having like that eureka moment or something like that. And I figured that this was something that I really wanted to go in as opposed to computer science, is because even though I feel like I don't know much in physics, I still have fun. In computer science, when the going was getting tough, like it was grueling. But in physics, I was like, it's whatever, you know? It's fun. It's a part of the experience. So I feel like this comes more naturally to me as opposed to trying to make websites or those kind of things. And I think I mentioned this, or Caleb asked me this in a conversation between us. Hold on. Yeah, Caleb asked me this in a conversation between us. He asked, like, what are your top 10 meanings in life, right? And I sort of like had trouble with that. And
It's super deep, dog.
yeah. So I told him physics, right? But then I was thinking like, why physics? And it's sort of like I like to see the beauty in things, you know, sort of how the cogs of the universe fit together and how different things interact with one another to form this wonderful universe that we see today. Even though most people would not regard it as wonderful, but I think if you look at the intricacies of the universe and how precise it is and how it turned out to be exactly like this, I think you'd start to find it beautiful. But that's my opinion. But anyways, and then he came up with a word I think that perfectly describes it, is the aesthetic. Not just hunting for aesthetic, but not just like aesthetic in a sense that it looks good, but like aesthetic in the sense that it's beautiful. Like when I think about how we're in the habitable zone of the sun, how we're in the Milky Way, how dark matter and gravity interact with each other perfectly, how the four forces, the fundamental forces, you know, formed over millions of years to put us on this earth, and we're on like the perfect timing to be able to understand a lot of these things that the universe, you know, it could be that I was born like during the Middle Ages or something and I wouldn't have experienced any of the science things. So it's like wonderfully precise, and I find that beautiful that, you know, the universe has given me this opportunity to learn so much about it. So why waste this opportunity, you know?
Yeah, and that's like what schools are failing to do. They it's like a factory. Schools are very quantity based, right? And of course they're I think schools as a whole, they're economic institutions when you think of it. People go to school, and why do governments say
the only reason
governments are just like, oh, we're gonna open up all these schools. Why? Because we want to create more jobs, and create more jobs. We want to get people to, get food and everything. And yeah, that's good. But I'm pretty sure we put a lot of thought into it. We can find other ways to sustain life. But I think also is that we're so obsessed with growth, but we have no sort of joy in it. It's always, oh, what's next? Instead of, I think humans definitely have a natural predisposition of just like, oh, I want to appreciate it, right? I mean, you go to a forest, you may not even like the environment. You may like destroying the environment, but you go to a forest and you go to the middle and then you see a waterfall and everything, like the movie.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it and you're gonna appreciate it, right? And then what if to ask like, oh, that's what we did as kids, right? We would watch a TV show and it's like, oh, the waterfall like that. Oh, why do these games? How do you make a game like this? Why is the sun like that? It's always we're always asking why, right?
You'll see these.
But I guess what school teaches you is, and it's like what you're done. Once you're done with school, you don't you start to just if someone says why, people will be like, oh, that's just because it is, just do it. But then it's
like in school you're asking what instead of why.
Yeah,
and we need more. I mean, the thing is, we need people who keep asking why. We need people who think like we need.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think what we also need are doers, because a lot of people just think and they don't do anything. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, but we're not going to be able to do anything if we don't get to think to begin with. If you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So I think the issue with these institutions and just the education system to begin with is just that it ruins that creativity that children have. Like if you think about it, as a kid, I used to make a lot of these things using cardboard boxes. I used to make my own gun that actually reloads and shoots from nowhere. I made it on my own, right? Yeah. I used to do that stuff all the time. I used to make my own stuff. Like if I didn't have a toy or something, like those Beyblade holders, if I didn't have it, I made it by myself. I made my own Spider-Man web shooter that I put it on YouTube. I used to make all these stuff myself. I used to think, I used to draw. I don't do any of that anymore. It's not because I've lost interest.
You can start now, dog.
Huh?
You can start now, dog.
I could start now. I could, but the thing is, like, why would I? I've lost the interest in it. There's no point of me being creative in that area anymore.
It's like, if you didn't know, I used to be incredibly interested in art. I think it was around year 6 that the moment that I started. No, like proper art. Like I was super into Leonardo da Vinci and Van Gogh and all of that, but I was also really into like architecture. I was really into like these buildings and these, and I still have that like respect of like that
like
is
aesthetic, right?
Building. Yeah, it's that aesthetic thing again, right? It's like I feel like humans are definitely deep into beauty. We love beauty, right? And that's why I think it's so bad right now how we're growing economically, but then you see like the destruction happening to the
I feel like the mass
because
the mass
what are you gonna say?
Emotional like drought, if you know what I'm saying. Like there's like reports of like not hundreds, like I don't know, millions, thousands of teenage boys just being depressed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also stuff like how I feel that every single subject has beauty in it, but the thing is you need to be able to display it in such a way. So like the thing that allowed me to discover this in physics is because I know like there are a lot of questions that will never be answered, whether it just be in the physics sense or philosophy, like whether God exists or not. Well, in my opinion, that's a question that can't be definitively answered like based on facts.
It's based on faith, right?
Or like where the universe came from, or where it will end, what dark matter is. There's so many questions, like, and we don't know how close we are to answer it, or why we exist, or why we're exactly like this, why we were put here at this exact state of time, why the universe is exactly like this. So many questions we don't know,
And
What?
that's what makes things fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not always
It's
like, oh, what problems do we have to solve? Everything. Yeah, that's something we should always do, problem solve. But it's not always about problem solving. Like it's also about that imagination, and it's also to be like, to sort of enjoy it. Like the beauty of like history is to be like, oh, how does this connect to me? Not just like, oh, how does it affect the economic systems? That's important, but it's not the gist of it. The whole point of history is to be like, oh, how does it connect to me? Why do I want to know about the Crusades? Or why do I want to know about the agricultural revolution? Why do I want to know the industrial revolution? All those things. It's always about like, oh, how does it connect to me? And then, of course, you're not going to be not joyful from that.
One second.
Now, ooh, Kevin. Ooh, dang.
You can keep talking about
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you agree, Adrian, but
No, definitely, I do
like,
agree. No, because these kind of questions that you ask, right? These questions are ones that you only ask when you're curious, and without this curiosity, you're not going to do anything with your education. What's the point of studying? What's the point of knowing things if you don't bother asking, right? And you tend to see these in subjects that you entirely enjoy, or you just like, you often ask questions because you are genuinely curious. Some people ask questions because they want to write down, oh, this might be a question in an exam. I don't ask questions to answer an exam paper. I ask questions so I can answer to myself, to my brain, to my knowledge, to my thirst of knowledge. You know what I mean? I mean, an interesting outlook I also had was like looking at how happy people are based on their intelligence. And what I mean by intelligence is by how much they know of everything. You tend to see like how dumb people and how the stupid people, no offense to their nature, but like people who know less they tend to basically like be more happy and used to smile a lot. And there's people who know so much who just like, they have these banks that they pull out of their brain. They're like, oh, I know that, I know this, I know that. They tend to be less happy, you know what I mean? It kind of brings that what is that saying? Ignorance is bliss to life, where like the less you know, the more happy you are, right? But I mean, like that kind of realization only happens once you get there. You know what I mean? Like that curiosity. The reason we learn is because we're curious. Yeah. And I think school is definitely stopping that. It's hard.
Yeah. Something as simple as math. I think math can be heck of fun if it's problem solving, for me personally, not alone. I think problem solving together and matching together our minds together, that's so fun. That is so fun to like solve problems together and be like, yo,
all those
look at what we did. That's so fun.
That study sessions on math on those weekends, I've never enjoyed math that much ever. Like those two.
That's why I kind of feel like my brain power is pulled to its fullest extent when I'm working with other people. Like, for example, I'm solving a problem with Adrian, right? And I'm like, hey, don't you think it's this? And then Adrian goes like, no, it's this. And I'm like, oh, I see. Then we slowly like feedback ideas back and forth with each other. And I feel like that's more effective as opposed to like this test system where you're just alone and like, dude, what's the point? Like, if you're gonna work collaboratively as a group to like, discover new things, what's the point of testing your abilities alone as opposed to something like that makes sense, like doing an investigation for something, like if me and Adrian did an experiment, together as an IA or something, that'd be more effective than the testing system we have right now, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, I think it's not even about like doing these tests individually. We do need, and I mean, the current system we're living in, this market, this economy we're in, it requires the standardized testing for each individual. That's because it's the way we've evolved.
Yeah, there's no better system right now. So.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like there's no point in us discussing all this because at the end of the day, no one's gonna change anything, right? I mean that's what matters.
Well, I mean like, it starts from a discussion.
I guess
everything starts from a discussion, right?
It goes.
If we don't discuss it, nothing begins, right? Yeah,
why. Exactly. We go back to the thing.
I think here's my interpretation. It's that Dude, I forgot. Keep talking. Keep talking.
I'm gonna go.
Wait, Adrian, what were you? Oh, here's what it is.
Okay.
It was about how school teaches us to be smart all around and to act like, you're in this only for yourself. Like in the future, you will work only for yourself.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth. The whole of human society has been what moral truth? That humans work best together, right?
Yes.
That's why.
All the time.
That's why the king is useless if he doesn't have the army,
Yeah.
and the army is useless if they don't have a king, right? And that's why humans should not be. The school is trying to shift us into our, like, as if you're a whole role. Yeah, as if you're, let's say that thing, all kings. But the thing is, if you're all kings, you have nothing to rule over.
Yeah, dude. I
And it's
thought you were
like-
small brain.
This is good analogy.
Bro,
Big brain
bro,
analogy.
this is-
Small brain. What the heck?
Bro, I'm just on weed. Anyways, it's like yeah, we're not meant. That's why communism fails, right? Because it treats every single person as an equal. Yeah, we're all morally equal, but at the same time, we have different values. As in, we have
and
different things to offer.
we need to
in
perform.
different situations.
Yeah, perform different roles. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
society.
like organs in a body, right?
Or like cogs in a machine. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like maybe I'm the idea person. I think I brainstorm a lot. I think Kevin's a lot more of the direct person, right? Oh,
What do you
I
mean
think
direct?
this is how you do it. As in you're the just like computer science, you're a lot more of the problem solving. Like, oh, how can we get from this and this? You need a directive, like you told earlier, right?
I see,
And then
but I also tend to think about like useless
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, I question a lot of things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I guess it's both, like, but I feel like
I'm just
we're
saying,
similar
like,
in some sort of
like
way. Yeah,
we have to play to our strengths, right?
yeah.
And if everyone has the same strengths, look, we're all gonna have weaknesses, right? It's
That's
like an
true.
army who is filled with a bunch of knights is gonna be defenseless against an army full of archers and knights.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have
It's
the
like-
knights, you have to have the archers,
or-
you have to have the catapult,
good-
you have to have a whole arsenal,
We have the
right?
barbarians.
So
A
there
good
has to be that
analogy is
person-
like-
Giants, yeah.
Okay, hold on. A good analogy is like playing rock paper scissors, but only playing one of them. So
Yeah.
only playing scissors. Like, there's no point. Like, because rock paper and scissors cover each other's weaknesses. So it's like you'll be stronger if you focus on your strengths and cover each other's weaknesses, as opposed
Yeah.
to trying to become the same thing.
Yeah, like general knowledge is important. Like it definitely helps. But I think something that we missed is we definitely missed out on, back in the day, historically, people would be how they would get a job is they would be apprentices, right? They would be how do you pronounce it? Apprenticeship.
Apprentice.
Yeah,
Apprenticeship. That, right? But the beauty of that is that it makes someone not smart at all things, but it makes a person a master of something, right?
Yeah.
And when you become a master of something, you don't only do it because, oh, I want to do this so that I can get money and I'll survive and everything. But you do it. The best people are the ones who like genuinely enjoy it, right? Who genuinely feel like, yo, I'm good at this. I enjoy it. Like a blacksmith. The best ones is like, you always see in the games, oh, go to this blacksmith. He's like the best at making the best sword and everything. And but the thing is like, that's the stuff of fantasy that we all should be, striving for. You want to be the best computer scientist. You want to be the best physicist. You want to be the best economist, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if that's the only thing and you're trying to make everyone the best at everything, you're going to have a whole society that is completely reliant on like, oh, I guess we're all the stomach when
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like the saying, like, it's crazy how you would never judge a fish on its ability to fly, right?
Yeah.
Also,
but that's what the
something
standardized
interesting
testing
is
thing is.
if you're as good as each other at everything and you're like, all of that, I lost my train of thought. If you're good at everything, all that, I feel like, and there's no differences with people, there's no like diversity of ideas. So it's
Yeah.
almost like if you think about natural selection, right? Species prosper the most when they diversify, and then eventually like you find the best ideas out of each other. So if you all think the same way and you're all good at the same things, like there's no diversity, and you're basically limited to your guys' like limitations. But if you're all different, you have different ideas, different thoughts. This is why I value like other opinions, other people's perspectives and opinions a lot, is because they give me new insights into knowledge that I previously know, or maybe different ways to think
Yeah.
of things. So like this diversity of thought, this idea, it just allows for like the accelerated growth of a society or humans in general, because people regularly feedback ideas off of each other, challenge each other's ideas, and because of these differences, it's like survival of the fittest. It essentially allows for the natural selection of human thoughts and which ideas are the best, things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also like when you said like calculus is a drag, I feel like calculus as an idea itself is kind of interesting to me, just because I have the physics background, right? And it's sort of like, because the way schools teach it to you is like as an object as opposed to like a concept. You know what I'm saying? Calculus is just calculus. You know, it's not like determining the change in things or things like that. I think that's a more interesting idea. Like calculus explores the change in objects. The gradient is just change, you know, and it applies to so many different things. And there are many links between math and physics, and again that brings it back to teaching.
It's true. It's like you do best in the subjects that you're most interested in, right? And it's true. You should be taught with the thought of, oh, this is why I need to know it. It's a drag to learn about languages, right? Because you're like, why do I need to know this? But it's you definitely are motivated to learn a language when you're just like, oh,
I remember.
if I learn this language, I can be connected to this whole culture and everything. It's like the concepts, right? It's the concept that you have to understand. If you teach around concepts and you teach around ideas, not just the mean, you gotta understand the means to it, right? Why are we learning about heat dispersion, right? But the people who would like be most interested in it is because once you know this, then you can, I don't know, make an engine, and then after that you can do all these sorts of things, and then you can travel, blah blah blah. I don't know.
There's actually this, this pretty good movie.
Hold on. Can I? Because I remember before I forget. So the thing I was about to say is like school teaches us about the ends as opposed to the means. So for example, like the test results are the ends, right? So we're looking at a result, and that's basically all anybody cares about. The percentages, the A pluses, the whatever. That's all they care about, right? They don't care about the means. Like, whoa, this is cool, you know? Like the learning process. That's the most important thing that schools try to teach. But ironically, it's not the thing that they focus on. They focus on the results, which is not the most important thing. I mean, you should judge the process, not the ends. I mean, you should judge the ends as well, but you should like have a tighter grip on the means, because that's eventually what's going to produce the ends, right? As opposed to like sort of creating a black box where students can generally do whatever as long as they achieve the result. That's not gonna necessarily succeed in real life. That's why school is not necessarily an accurate predictor for success in life. So that's you know, that's something I was thinking about.
Yeah, I was before you were going to talk about that. You know, Hal, you mentioned reasons to study, motivations, and an interesting movie I watched was actually an Indian film. It's about this education system. There was this guy who was like he thought that the education system was broken, it was messed up, so he proposed this new system, right? And then it was just this basic movie climax. He gets thrown away, the government and shit like that happens, stuff goes wrong, and then like he ends up making the school in this really rural location, and then these kids are like making their own machines, and they're really advanced, right? There's this engine running on salt water, and there's this stuff that's going on, and then in the film you see the kids are making them because there are reasons like, oh, because every day my dad has no money for fuel, and like he's struggling so much, and so I wanted to create something because of that.
So they're like genuinely interested in those things, and
so
they're pursuing it themselves.
Stuff like that, and it's happening right now, and a lot of people who are not like having the benefit of education are the ones who would probably benefit more than us. Like, I'm not saying than us.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you know what I mean.
I feel like,
they are genuinely curious about learning. I know a lot of people right off my head who are like the people that we know who just take all this education for granted, and it's just more than they can perceive, if you know what I mean. Like, the value and us not being like grateful for this education that we have, because it's much more valuable than it seems. It's not just a grade book, right? It's what you.
I feel like
from it.
I feel like with all this diversity of thought as well, something I was thinking about is like, if everybody has, or like, you know, all those like less fortunate people who don't have access to as much things as we do, like there are some of those guys who are like far smarter, far crazier. I mean, not like crazy, but like crazy in the spectrum of like able to do great things, such that, you know, it's like a positive sum game. If we were able to provide those people with the resources as well, do you know how fast like the human race would be advancing if everybody were like working together and everybody were working to their full potential? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, the companies, the governments are just scared of doing so because they don't want to waste their money on just a random poor people, if you know what I mean. Like, India just recently announced that for this COVID-19 they're going to offer $272 billion worth of money for all these people, like these poor people, homeless people. But in honesty, they're not going to do that. It's just saying out they're gonna do that, but it's just for, you know, like for publicity and stuff like that, and it never honestly reach the people, because like countries don't operate on that kind of basis, right? And they don't, people who stuff like that, when they say, oh, we're gonna give you something, you're gonna do this, it often doesn't happen. It's just because like something happens in between, something just goes wrong, and again, that's because of the education system. Why do we have corruption? It's because there's something always better than what you have, right? There's always that thought of, there's something better than what I have right now. There's always a person smarter than me. There's always a person who has a bigger computer than me, you know? And the thought of being, I want more. And that's what knowledge, that's where education comes from. And some people who are less fortunate than us, they'll think, I want more. I want to study more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that schools have gone to the point where they've saturated information so much and they've sucked out the life out of information so much that now, if I don't know about you guys, but my favorite conversations are the conversations that are considered deep or are intellectual or are debating. But I have a feeling that that's all a human predisposition. I feel like we all have, if we have a deep interest in it, we will talk about it. And it'll be fun, because then we have, while we were talking about this, we were wondering, and it's like we have fun because it's joy, right? But now we don't live in a culture of debate. We live in a culture of like, oh, you think this is bad? Screw you. Instead of like actually debating and everything. Right?
Yeah, and the thing with debating is it's so much more effective because you actually exchange knowledge, if you know what I
get what you mean. So it's like a culture of facts, absolutism, or just like, you know, just like you're correct, or this person is correct, or something like that, right?
I mean, I think there are absolutes, but I think there's always a relativist debate before you can achieve that understanding of the absolute. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like,
I see.
You have to have a debate to truly understand truth. I don't want to get too like philosophical, because I don't know about you guys, but that sucks the life out of information. But I think just
come on, man, philosophy is anyway.
You have to have like a conversation with people, right? Now we don't have an ability to converse about interesting things. Like, all you have to nowadays, if you see like family gatherings, what do they talk about? They talk about,
they're on their phones, social media,
on their phones.
All these questions, you know, it's fun.
And I think the fondest memories for me, and what I'm so thankful is that, you know, my dad's a serious person, but I think what was so good, maybe it's the same with you guys, But what was so beneficial for me was that my dad always treated me like a grown up, right? So my dad always treated me. He always talked about like serious ideas. But when I came up to him, I think I grew so much intellectually because he was just willing to engage and debate with me, right? And I think we're missing our potential if we're not willing to engage with each other intellectually, right?
Yeah.
I feel like
it's like as simple as if you go to a baby, they're not gonna talk if they're not gonna learn how to talk well or think properly if you always treat them like a baby, right? It's the same thing with growth. You will not grow a lot. Let's say with sports, you will not grow a lot when it comes to basketball if it's to do with, you know, they don't expect you to be a better basketball player. If they always treat you like, oh, you know, score there, you know, it's useless. But it's important when you begin to when your coaches treat you as though, okay, you're gonna have this big responsibility, right? We have to have that big responsibility, and we have to be, you know, treated like adults. We have to have that because that's where the wonder happens, right? When you see something bigger and then you're not afraid of it. Instead, you want to be like,
I feel like this is something important to conceptualize. I think you're talking about like pushing yourselves and constantly like evolving your limit. I think that's very interesting as well, because I feel like only recently like I've been like engaged in more of the intellectual things or things like that. Mostly I believe because of the people I engage with. So like you, for example, or Caleb, or my grandpa as well.
I mean, who is
Wait, what did? Why you like?
Let me. I will. You guys can continue to talk. I need to talk to somebody first.
Oh.
What is this guy doing? Okay, so these sort of intellectual discussions with other people sort of like, you know, pushed me to start thinking about different things and all that. You know.
So yeah. I mean, that's definitely. Well, there's also like depends on who you're talking with as well. I mean, not necessarily either, because you could be talking to someone who knows less than you on that particular subject, and you can still learn from them. Because like often you're always stuck on looking at something from that specific perspective, and talking to people usually, you know, changes that perspective, because you get this like different approach towards it, which is what I like about ambiguous subjects, if you know what I mean. Like theory of knowledge, at first it was like it's just this random stuff, what is knowledge, this kind of stuff. But like we started having conversations, and I mentioned this in previous podcasts, because the whole point of that subject was that there isn't one single answer to a question, right? There are many. And when we have conversations with people, like Caleb was in that class, and so were a few other people who were really interested in engaging conversations, and the ideas that were brought up in those conversations were stuff that I would have never thought of, and that interested me in something even bigger than what I would have ever heard. Like I never knew some stuff that Caleb was talking about, but then I became more interested. I started reading, and then I got a bit more, you know, I was more up to speed with what he was talking about there, and I was able to go and converse with him the next lesson or something like that, if you know what I mean. It's just like, even with Hal, I don't know, some things you guys talk about stuff like that. You scammed us.
I got some watermelon.
A watermelon.
Dude, you didn't talk to anybody. You just got food. You loser.
Or not for my mom.
No, true. I'm joking. So I was just talking about how like, if you keep playing bad opponents, especially in sports, like you'll never evolve, right? So it's like basically just that idea of like pushing yourself and exploring new ideas that sort of allows your brain to evolve. So something like I think you know, my fondest memories of my grandpa are like when we're having conversations, or like he's talking about the stock market, or he's talking about how people will behave, blah blah blah, and things that I normally wouldn't be interested in, like economics, just becomes something interesting just because of the way he explains it. And also going back to what we talked about previously, like having deep discussions and things, I think these days with like the age of misinformation, as you said previously, or like all of the social media, like people are so afraid of like exposing their true self that it's just basically become like an interaction of facades.
I mean,
like
the main reason
I feel like people are so afraid of exposing their true selves in the fear that they'll get shamed, such that it's actually really rare to find someone that shows you their true selves, open up. So that's why I really value people like you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, great.
Word up.
Same there, Hal. Okay. The thing is, though, it's the people like that exist because there is a need for them to put on a facade. There's a need for them to make this mask.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
This fake persona, because like the world is toxic out there, if you know what I mean. And how you were talking about there, we're not living in a society where we could go on to people, just give out our opinion, and not have them come back out with us like with some random harsh opinion, be like, oh, shut up, you dense, you know. We can't. It's not a
I feel like people aren't open enough. You know what I'm saying?
And some people are just sensitive in the manner that they're not. You know, they feel ashamed of what they believe, of what they think. And sometimes people like those are the ones who actually have something to give or something to offer, because their ideas are what we might need, if you know what I mean. And they get shut down because they're scared, because they're, you know, they feel oppressed or something like that. So I don't know, man. Maybe another way of fixing this whole system is by, you know, like just making stuff even more open and more like saying that it's okay to not think like this, it's okay to think like that. And you know, that might
or firstly, it's like it's okay to think in the first place, right?
Exactly. But who's thinking
okay
nowadays?
Think differently.
Nobody's thinking nowadays, you know what I mean?
Nowadays
problem.
people will say like, oh, you're not getting paid to think, you're getting paid to work, right? And no crap, Sherlock, you know. But like, you gotta. There's a joy in thinking, and the thing is, we live in such a hyper financial world, a hyper economic world, where everything is just production. Everything is no longer quality and understanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, so I guess we'll only have time for talking about songs now before we end. So
go ahead.
Okay, Adrian, you can start.
All right, I chose. Wait, which is the one did you guys listen to? Because I gave a few ones.
I heard the Beatles one.
Oh, Here Comes the Sun. Okay.
I listened to the Beatles one. Yeah,
okay,
Here Comes
that
the
one.
Sun.
That one started off as a meme actually because of the B movie. You know that. Here comes.
But Beatles are a classic, you know.
Yeah, but they definitely are.
Yeah.
And actually, when I was a kid, I didn't know about that the song was from the Beatles. I just knew from the movie, you know. And then I listened to the song. The Beatles.
They just 2019 version, you know.
Yeah, I know. I've listened to that, but I actually prefer.
So I listened to that one.
The old one. It's you know, it's just the song like that. You know, you can just sit down. You don't have to be in an open summary area.
Yeah.
You can just close your eyes.
Yeah.
And turn up.
You don't have to be a bee.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And like, you know, it just gave me a different vibe, transforming me into a different.
Yeah, you just feel the actual like joy and warmth of the song.
Yeah, exactly. And don't have to remember Jerry Seinfeld, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll talk about mine now, which is
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to both, right? But I'm gonna talk about the doing time one. So it doesn't have much lyrics. It's in English, but it doesn't have much lyrics. But it's like blues, and it's more like sort of emotional. Like when I listen to that song, I'm just like chilling, you know, sitting down, just thinking. It's a good song to listen to while I'm thinking about different things, and I don't know. It's just the feeling. It's like sort of like that feeling in the anime ending when you're like sitting, looking out the window while it's raining. You know, that kind of feeling. And I like songs like that, like. And especially like sort of the feeling, blues, jazz, you know, soul, that kind of thing. It just vibes with my taste in general.
Good.
What do you guys think?
No, it was a good song. I actually really liked it. It was this blues, jazz kind of this vibe. It was very interesting, and it kind of put you in this. I think area.
Yeah, it's music that you would definitely listen to. I think. Either when you're working, but also when you just want to relax, you know, and appreciate music. So it's that type of music. You know what I
I
mean?
felt that same way with
Yeah.
yours, Hal, with your music, the one that
Yeah.
you chose.
Should I talk
Like-
about mine now?
Yeah, that's a great
Hold on,
segue.
one sec. So
Okay,
like,
Kevin.
yeah. Oh my. All right. So my song comes from. I don't know if it comes exactly from Cowboy Bebop itself, but those artists are the ones who created the Cowboy Bebop like soundtrack, and in general, just the songs from that soundtrack are really good. I enjoy most of them, and the feeling is like the same. Like for example, the one I asked you guys to listen to as well. What was it? Like The Real Folk Blues or something? Yeah. That one's really good too, and they're like made by by the same artist. So, yeah, pretty good songs. And you can go ahead to yours. Oh,
So mine was the Hymn of Cherubim. You know, it's actually like a Catholic hymn,
USS
but I think
Autumn.
it's the thing is like you gotta listen to it, and it's crazy. It like for me, it transforms me from this person who's just in the room, and then it's like heavenly. Seriously,
It is, and I mean, I didn't look at it in that perspective. In terms, I mean, I'm also a Catholic, but I didn't look at it in that word. I felt more like in space and kind of like in an outer
Like that.
world, just being elevated into this different reality. You know, just listening to it, it was so beautiful. It was so calming as well, if you know what I mean.
it's like psychedelics,
Yeah.
but music.
And I mean, that's
Yeah.
why we like music, because it just brings you to a different location, just like reading. You know,
Yeah.
you imagine stuff.
Yeah.
it was fantastic.
I think there's a word that you described this. It's like it's another word for otherworldly. All right, never mind. It's fine.
Is it ethereal?
Ethereal, yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Let's go, dude. Yeah.
See?
It's very
Body
it's
vibes.
ethereal. I don't know if that's a word, but it sounds like it's the right word. But
Yes.
yeah, it has that sort of feeling. Like Adrian was like giving a story about how in Dungeons and Dragons, like he died, and then at the perfect time I was like playing this song, so I was imagining his character like going up to heaven. Yeah, it was really fun actually, but I died for the first time, and I was like, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that was actually pretty funny. So, yeah. So I guess we'll have to end it here today, because we don't have time to
Thanks
explore.
for me again, guys. Thanks for
We don't have
having
time.
me.
We don't.
I look forward to my third appearance next week.
We don't have time. We don't have time to explore the other sections because
Yeah.
you know we spent too much time. Like I wasn't keeping track of time, but yeah. If you guys wanna check out any of the things we talked about, what was that movie that you said, the Indian
Oh, it's
thing?
called Hero.
What?
Hero.
It's a good movie.
How do you spell that?
It's Hero. Hero.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, if you want to check out any of the things that we talked about, I'll also be linking a bunch of articles and the songs that we talked about in the description. You can go check it out, or me or Adrian's YouTube channels, which will also be in the description. I make physics videos very rarely, but I'll try to make some more. But Adrian posts gaming videos also very rarely, but we'll get into that another time. So how would you? Do you have your
You can
final
also,
comments?
yeah, you can also join my movement. It's the new political party. I'm establishing it, and we will have more details about that in the future.
Okay. All right.
I'm just kidding. I'm just playing, bro. I'm capping so much. Yo, don't follow me. Like last time I said. Don't follow me. Don't search
No,
for me.
it's okay, dude.
doing that.
Dude, it's okay, dude. They
Yeah.
followed you on @Logan Paul. It's all good.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, at Logan Paul. Actually,
So-
guys, I lied. My actual account is at Jake Paul.
Oh my god,
Are
I
you
have
sure
to
it's
add.
not KSI?
Okay, fine, I'll do it. Okay. Make sure to subscribe if you like this content. Comment down below. You know, we read it sometimes, and just leave a like if you generally
Yeah.
enjoy the content. You know, share it around if you're interested. You know, things like that. All right, that'll be it for today. Thank you guys
yes,
for
Thank you
watching
very much.
or listening if you're on
Alright, guys.
Spotify.
Yes, if you're listening to this on Spotify, please make sure to check our YouTube channel and do whatever Kevin said before. So,
Yeah.
bye.
Follow me on Instagram at Jake Paul.